Next on KGW News at noon, skating rinks and volleyball courts. The plan on the table to overhaul the Portland Expo Center. Also this afternoon, row your boat to run from the police. More details on the failed getaway attempt by these two suspected thieves in Seattle. But first, Albertsons goes from potentially merging with Kroger to now suing its grocery store competitor. The reason why coming up in one of our top local stories. Thanks for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Drew Carney, and we have breaking news to start with here. FBI Director Christopher Wray announced his plans to resign at the end of President Biden's term in the White House. Wray made the announcement to FBI employees just over an hour ago. President-elect Donald Trump, meanwhile, has already said Kash Patel is his pick to take over the position of FBI Director. The job typically has a 10-year term limit, a limit that was set up decades ago as part of post-Watergate reform in Washington, D.C. Albertsons is now suing Kroger over the failed merger between the two companies. Albertsons says Kroger didn't do enough to make the merger happen and is asking for billions of dollars in damages. Today's news comes after two judges, one in Oregon and the other in Washington, blocked the proposed merger yesterday. So to start with, a federal judge here in Portland ruled in favor of state and federal regulators after a 3-week hearing that took place earlier this summer. The judge's ruling yesterday pauses the merger at the national level until a Federal Trade Commission judge can make a final determination. Kroger and Albertsons had argued that the merger would help to compete with bigger retailers like Walmart, Costco, and Amazon, and they proposed selling off nearly 200 Safeway, Albertsons, QFC, and Hagen stores in Oregon and Washington to minimize antitrust concerns. But the Federal Trade Commission sued to block the merger, arguing it would be bad for consumers and for workers because it would eliminate competition. Albertsons countered, saying if the merger didn't happen, it might have to lay off workers and completely close down some of its stores. Here's a quote now from federal judge Adrian Nelson, again here in Portland, who said the following: "Any harms defendants experience as a result of the injunction do not overcome the strong public interest in the enforcement of antitrust law, especially given the difficulty in disentangling a premature merger." Also yesterday, a judge in Seattle issued a permanent injunction barring the merger from going forward in Washington, also saying that it would lessen competition. Colorado is another state that sued to block the merger, but a judge there has yet to rule on the case. All right, that was a big explainer there, Rod. We're going to take a break from some of our news headlines right here to check in with you and a look at today's forecast.
Usually this time of the year, when your forecaster says cloudy skies, the forecaster wins. That's what I did this morning. But not today. We actually have opened up some sun, and you can see we're kind of in this little clearing spot on the satellite picture. Radar's been showing some light rain, some of which have been reaching the ground in southwestern Oregon, and some has not. Radar shows nothing to the south of Salem right now. It's actually showing some thicker cloud cover and picking up some what would be really light rain up moving across parts of Cowlitz County. But generally at noon, if you're going to be spending some time outdoors soon, you're in pretty good shape. The coast has opened up some sun as well. Here's Lincoln City, our Snookwas Casino Resort camera. Now look at the temp. With no wind, it is 55 degrees. Now Salem had fog again this morning. The fog has generally lifted, but it's still overcast as we look at our state capitol. Because of that, it's still chilly, 39 degrees. Here's the partly cloudy skies looking through the Tilcomb Crossing from the Portland Spirit Landing in downtown Portland. You can see the sun. We're at 43. Now we will be clouding back over in the coming hours. And I still think there's at least a chance of rain somewhere starting in that 4 to 5 o'clock hour. If you're going to be out this evening just like that, raindrops will be likely. Your complete forecast gets into that stronger system coming in for the weekend. That's ahead in about 10 minutes.
All right, thank you, Rod. Kids are back in the classroom today in the Jewell School District located in Clatsop County. School was canceled there earlier this week after a 13-year-old student was arrested because of alleged sexual abuse of another student. For more on this story, here's KGW's Devin Haskins.
For the second day in a row, classes at the Jewell School District were canceled Tuesday. Nearly 200 students at their pre-K through 12 school staying home after what the district called a criminal investigation. The Clatsop County Sheriff's Office says a 13-year-old was arrested following a sexual abuse complaint at the school last Thursday. Mallory Schnepp is a mom of 5 in the district. She says her daughter was not the victim in Thursday's case, but says she has been assaulted before by the same student several times.
My daughter has been complaining to me for years about the specific student who was arrested, and if her voice would have been heard, this would have never happened.
Mallory says she's reported the abuse to the district and the sheriff's office.
Every single time the school tells us there was no evidence, and there's cameras, and there was no evidence on the cameras, so the student never got in trouble for the last 2 years.
The school district wouldn't say anything about what happened on Thursday, but said it is taking student safety seriously and sent KGW a statement that reads in part, "Please be assured that we are addressing the matter in line with our district's policies and procedures to ensure a safe and supportive environment for all students." The school says it's now making changes such as having bathrooms assigned for a specific grade level. Only one person will be allowed inside a bathroom at a time. And there will be a mandatory hallway pass for all grades, with specific information about where the student came from and where they're going.
I guess the real question is how many claims would it have taken to actually do something? Because she wasn't the only one.
Devin Haskins, KGW News.
We're also covering the Corbett School District, which is still dealing with how to handle a $3 million budget deficit. Last night, the school board took a big step towards solving the problem by voting to accept a $2 million loan. The loan is from the Multnomah Education Service District. And by taking the loan, the Corbett School District is agreeing to not sue. Corbett officials say it was actually the Multnomah Education Service District that played a big part in creating this financial crisis. The superintendent says the district uncovered 3 years' worth of accounting errors by the group. The superintendent also says that the loan technically comes with a 2% interest rate, but as part of the deal, MESD is refunding the district the cost of 1 year of accounting services to cover that interest rate.
We have agreed to not pursue any litigation.
How hard was that decision?
It was not difficult in that it was the best decision for our students and for our district as a whole.
If it's interest-free, $2 million is not a small amount to loan.
I'm not even remotely sure how we would start to fix this, but I know that we definitely need to work as one to move forward.
Even with the loan, 8 district employees will still lose their jobs. Over in Clark County, the medical examiner's office identified the man who was shot and killed by police at a Safeway in Vancouver last Wednesday. Police say they approached 45-year-old Adam Gunderson in the store's parking lot. Shortly after that, a fight broke out between Gunderson and officers. Police say he pulled a gun, and that's when they shot him. Gunderson was taken to the hospital where he later died. The 3 officers involved are on leave. A judge approved a more than $1 million settlement in the case of 21-year-old Kevin Peterson Jr. Clark County deputies shot and killed Peterson in 2020 during a failed drug sting. Initially, the Clark County sheriff at the time said that Peterson shot at deputies first, but investigators later said there was no evidence that Peterson fired his gun. The deputies involved were cleared of criminal wrongdoing, but Peterson's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit that led to this settlement. In national news this afternoon, we're learning more about what may have led Luigi Mangione to shoot and kill, that is, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. NBC's Stephanie Gosk has more as Mangione's lawyer says his client plans to plead not guilty and fight extradition back to New York.
26-year-old Luigi Mangione resisting sheriff's deputies as he entered the courthouse in Pennsylvania Tuesday, shouting at cameras.
I'm completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people and lived experience.
Mangione is charged with murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Midtown Manhattan in a brazen shooting that sparked a days-long manhunt. His attorney says they will fight efforts to extradite him to New York, potentially slowing down the process for weeks.
For the record, he's pleading not guilty to this. And I've seen zero evidence at this point.
These new photos released by local police show the moments before officers detain the alleged murderer. And now more background on the suspect's possible thinking emerging. NBC News learning that in an internal NYPD analysis, investigators are looking into whether Mangione had grievances against the healthcare industry, possibly seeing the killing as a, quote, symbolic takedown in a fight against corporate power games. Police also say Mangione was carrying a 3-page handwritten document. 3 senior law enforcement officials tell NBC News the notes were critical of the healthcare industry in the U.S., and specifically United Healthcare. Writing in part, "I do apologize for any strife or traumas, but it had to be done." Mangione wrote that he acted alone, but while the NYPD says there's no indication he had help, they have not ruled out the possibility. This morning, the NYPD also warning of copycats. And Mangione has seen some support online in the wake of the shooting, with many expressing frustration with the healthcare industry. Officials have been pushing back and urging calm.
But this guy's not a hero. He's not a hero. If you have any issues with somebody, we don't go out there and commit violence. We don't go out there and commit. This guy committed cold-blooded murder.
Again, that was NBC's Stephanie Gosk reporting for us. One more note to Stephanie's report. NBC has learned from senior law enforcement officials that fingerprints taken from Mangione match some prints that were found near the New York City crime scene where the shooting happened. Here's a look at some other national headlines this afternoon. The NFL and Nike have extended their partnership with a 10-year deal that focuses on growing football all around the world. The two sides will focus on working together to increase participation, develop new talent, and expand football's fan base. Nike has been the NFL's exclusive provider of uniforms and apparel for the past 12 years. Sticking with football here for a minute, as Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow was leading his team to victory in Dallas during Monday Night Football this week, someone was breaking into his Cincinnati home. It's the latest in a string of high-profile burglaries appearing to target professional athletes in the Midwest while they're competing on the road. Chiefs stars Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce were previous victims after their homes were broken into within hours of each other back in October. Multiple NBA stars have also been hit in recent months. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is testifying before the House Foreign Affairs Committee today about the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. The committee is questioning Blinken about what they call the botched withdrawal from the country. House Republicans blame the Biden administration for the chaotic pullout, citing reduced troops and a large embassy staff. And that's a look at some of today's national headlines.